latest version of PowerShell, but it was introduced to the world in 2006. So PowerShell is both a command line interface and a scripting language, but I want to be very careful in saying that it's a command line interface because it's not the command line interface. Yes, you interact with it by using a CLI, but it's not the command line interface. What it is an environment and a set of services and a way to interface with Windows and Windows services and a lot of other applications besides. We interact by using commands. Now, commands come in, well, a number of different shapes, forms, and all of that sort of thing. But the main one that we work with and that we sort of focus on early on in here are commandlets. So CMD-LETS, commandlets. And commandlets basically are the native tools for PowerShell. There are also functions native to PowerShell. What a function is a tool that's built on, well, generally can be built based on other commandlets, but it's built for a more specific purpose than a commandlet in general. There's filters that are available so that you can filter the results or filter the object of whatever it is that you're working with. And then, of course, there are workflows. And so we're going to focus on commandlets, functions, and some filtering as we go through here and leave workflows for later discovery in this course. Microsoft Server applications provide us with a number of different application-specific commandlets. I think Exchange Server is a fantastic example of that. So Exchange Server, which at least one of you and maybe a couple of you said that you've worked with PowerShell under, is a great example of how PowerShell is sort of an extensible environment. So out of the box, you have some things that are available, right? You can interact with a file system, and you can interact with a number of different, system-specific tools that are available. You can work with the registry and so forth. But interestingly, the real usefulness of PowerShell comes in interacting with other tools. So I mentioned that I have a lot of experience working with Configuration Manager, Exchange, and a couple of other things. Well, Exchange is where I first met PowerShell. And Exchange Server 2007 was the first big server product that incorporated PowerShell that I worked with. And I first met it at, I think the first year was PowerShell was at the Microsoft Tech Ed conference. Anyway, they started talking about this beast called PowerShell, and they said it was a completely new technology and that it was going to blow us all away with everything that was going on with it. And so I sat through, and watched the breakout session on this thing, and it looked familiar to me. Well, come to find out, with one of the service packs to Windows Server 2003, they introduced the directory service commands, the DS commands, and those use a pipeline and do some of the same things. So I was ready to start working with this thing called PowerShell until Exchange came out, and they said, well, there's about 600 additional commandlets that are part of that. And I'm thinking to myself, I will never memorize 600 commandlets. This is a hopeless cause. Now it's quite nearly 800 commandlets with Exchange Server, and it's going to continue to grow because Exchange Server keeps adding functions as well. But the point is that the commandlets themselves and then the applications that Microsoft has have to have specific tools. It's kind of like working on stuff around the house. I mean, there's specific tools that you need to be able to do plumbing, right? So I can't just go with my standard Craftsman toolkit and to use that to be able to install a faucet in one of my bathrooms, and because the tools just don't reach. And so I have to go get that funky wrench to be able to tighten certain things underneath the sink, that sort of thing. And again, it just, it stands to reason that that's the case. So application-specific commandlets are an important part of that. And like I said, with Exchange Server, there's nearly, 800 of them that are out there. Anyway, the point being not to overwhelm you with the number of commandlets that Exchange adds, but to tell you that the extensibility is there as well. So those application-specific commandlets. There's a lot of open source stuff that's out there, and so now PowerShell has been opened up to open source development, and it supports Linux and Mac OS as well. So there's PowerShell engines that run for those besides. So it's not just now a Windows specific tool, whereas it was up until very recently.